Welcome back to Fighters Drinking Coffee, guys. You were training, you're having a great roll, right? Got done with class. You're rolling with your best bud, the guy that you always train with. And you're used to what he does. You know what he does. He went for an arm bar and you're like, I think I can get out of this. But you didn't. And you didn't tap in time. And you get the pop, pop, pop. Now what? Right? Your arm hurts. It hurts. It's bad. It's not good. Doesn't feel great. And now you're thinking to yourself, do I need to go to the hospital? Ooh, do I need to pause my membership? Should I just quit jiu-jitsu altogether? Should I just be done with this forever? The answer is no, guys.
Definitely not.
Because we have answers for you. We know we've been there. Specifically with the elbow, I've been there recently. But like we've both been hurt. It's part of the game. It happens. Sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes you were going for gold. Sometimes it was you just were a little too stubborn in the gym and you just didn't tap that time and you were wrong. You should have tapped. But it doesn't have to end there. There are ways you can come back. Sometimes you do need to take a little bit of time off. Like, don't get us wrong there. Like, it might be that. But, we have some ways for you to still get better at jiu-jitsu with an injury. There's methods for this. There's things you can still do even though you've got a brace or a cast or a sling. There's ways around it. Maybe. Well, it'll actually be easier if they just cut it off. You just go back to it. But
break it again.
How do we still continue on the path of getting better at jiu-jitsu with this new hurdle, right? It's just another hurdle. We've gone through it. We talked about being a white belt. You sucked. Now you're better, but you got hurt. We'll still get there. We're going to overcome this adversity like we told you in the white belt episode. We got to overcome adversity. It's going to happen. So Scott, what do you think?
Okay.
Let's give them a story
Sure.
Let's give them let's relate to them a little bit. Let's tell them about when we got hurt so they know we're telling, we've actually tried this out. We've tested it.
Right. Okay. Let's see, which story should I? Got more. Before I go into the story, I want to say a couple things. On injury prevention training, you have a lot more autonomy over this. Now, the fun of jiu-jitsu, it's usually where sort of what your lead-in story, lead-in kind of like use case.
Setting the stage.
You were setting the stage. A lot of the fun of jiu-jitsu is like just kind of always dancing on the physical danger. Get so used to it. You're just like hanging out on the edge constantly. And in white belt episode for sure, we kind of said you can tap out, slow the tempo down, do a lot to keep in an inherently dangerous sport. Or this was to break things on the other dude, or choke them out or whatever. You get it. It's a submission sport. Like we're looking to get to breaking. That's the name of the game.
Things that if you did this on an unwilling participant on the streets, you would be arrested.
Right. For sure. So like that's the fun of it. It's learning with physical injury. So that's awesome. And so as it relates to the lead-in example, most of a lot of your learning, a lot of the best aspects, what we do is finding yourself in that dangerous line and getting out. It's not tapping. It's kind of pushing your limit. I got out. But what I was saying was the true reality, at least for myself, is that learning that line has come from going online and being injured. And then that's really one of the best tools for me to figure out, all right, when do I absolutely linger a little bit, train long enough with reliable training partners so you can dial it in with you guys can you understand that. The other person has a lot of help and away from getting too. But like, again, like you can't avoid the danger depending on what your ambitions are in the sport. Competition fun. You want to stay close to that line. You want to stay too, you want to be like nerfed up in your training. Not if you're competitive. Be comfortable with risky situation. But original call out is like injury prevention. Like a lot of this can be prevented by like knowing how fast or how slow you want to go, how much risk you want to take. Someday, and the bulk of what we're going to talk about. We're past this time. We're going to keep training. And the best way to learn how to modulate things is when you be like, you learned what you tend to like after a couple bumps and bruises along the way, you figure out like, all right, I'm the lowest common denominator. A lot of these things, I know how I can move at a pace that is not close. And like, yeah, the other person you're trying to beat kind of understand that too. So I was saying,
yeah, and
you can avoid a lot of stuff. And so obviously, like for the people listening, right, like, know yourself, know what you're trying to do on the mat. Your coach a lot. Your coach will have a ton, and your coach is going to have. But you know what you want to do. You know what you know the training session, where you're headed goals wise. Like you can definitely prevent yourself from getting hurt in a dangerous sport. Again, so that's tempo and tapping.
Now, yeah, that was the disclaimer.
That was
right?
well. I have one more
hurt.
disclaimer. My other disclaimer is for what we're gonna talk about for a lot here, guys. Like, just honestly, you gotta like just ask yourself, how badly do I need to train? How badly am I hurt? If something happens, gotta like self-assess and say, all right, this is the kind of thing that like I need to see a doctor. I need to take some time. And, like you'll know the answer.
Yeah,
you'll know the answer. I wouldn't want to say immediately, but like as an individual, you'll know, or you will learn the limits. You're like, this is a get an MRI thing, and this is a go see a doctor. Maybe it's a say 6 to 8 week thing, or a 2 to 4 or 5 plus thing, right? And you need to be able to answer that question yourself. Seek help and take time off. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, without intervention, will this get worse?
Yeah,
right?
No,
like,
that leads me to the next thing. That leads me to the next thing, which is something I think you'll like, which is the first question that relates to what we're going to talk about. Is really like, am I tweaked? Did I tweak a thing, or did I injure it? Or where in between the two am I? The tweak is like basically this is so me. It's all very relatively subjective. It is subjective, but tweak is like something hurts, but I'm going to train. On the other end of the continuum is like, I'm injured and this must be full focus on healing.
This requires an outside person.
Right. And like, again, like the severity of the injury will indicate that. So we want to emphasize that. Taking care of your body is paramount. So, and quite frankly, anything I've said all that. Come back to the tweaking. I mean, I can give like personal experience on that, giving people advice on when to not do something. We're just going to talk about what we've done in these scenarios and how we approach these things.
How have we approached it? How have we overcome or adapted to it? We like to talk about adaptation.
Yeah. We're all about adaptation. Yeah. Because your just need to train. I will say it's commensurate with like how, and I say this in the best way possible, you are about wanting to be on the mat. This stuff is like so fun. It's addictive. Like if you're a goal-oriented person, young, you're like, this is just my life, man. So I need to. We have a guy this morning who hurt his rib. It's like, yeah, I should wrestle. All right. My recommendation for how you should wrestle. Rib injuries are no joke. And I do have stories.
Yeah.
I got stories. We'll do as many or as few as are valuable for the duration of the show. But we're talking about it. And just anyways, he's like, my mental health. I'm losing my fucking mind. So anyways, he and I talked about like the right ways to approach his training sessions. And he also was like, I want to wrestle one of the difficult wrestling classes that we have. So, all right, homie, like, I love this. Let's just be smart. I had to put my coach hat on. I had to like kind of like caution first, but also like, oh, you're good. And so which I guess leads me into like the tweak versus injury. If let's say that's a continuum, you don't feel like you're like catastrophic. The only, and I guess this is like my thought process. I'm capital I, and that's the end of the spectrum. You have to ask yourself. I think it's a big picture. It's a triage. You got to triage something and say, all right, like, to what degree of prioritization when you put full and immediate recovery on to what just happened versus like, can I balance recovery? And that's really what we're talking about. If we're closer to the tweak end of the spectrum, all right, I can balance some. Yeah, it's a tweak. I don't like tweak. I want to feel as like, 100% as possible in my body, whatever that means. When you get to a certain age and a certain point, mileage and years, brewing, lots of small things, like 100% is an interesting conversation. Perhaps this is the right place to talk about. So none of us.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it, right? No one's ever really 100%, but 100% of what? 100% of functional? I think it's kind of like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm functional. Dude, these guys. There are dudes in the mat who's always fucked up. Man, I'm trained. I'm functional. It's sort of like, am I functional? Am I am I dangerous still? Or am I like, no, this is a full-on injury. Like, if you can move and be dangerous in any capacity, personally, I'll find a way to train.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find a way to train.
I'm banged up. Like
you're banged up.
I'm banged up right now. But you know what? You can tell the point where it's like, all right, well, as long as I don't do this, right? And that's the difference between the tweak and the injury,
That's the thing. And I think that's the core, dude. That's the core. If we can just summarize, as long as I can do this, it's like basically the sentence.
Yeah.
You want to be able to say. And sometimes the answer is I can't do this or I can't do anything. Sometimes I haven't done that. Knock on everything. Like, thankfully, like, I feel like off most of the time there's something I can't do. That's the sentence. As long as I can do this. That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. We spoke about this in our last episode, which is like, if you get enough at time, and by the way, this is a psychology. I've had enough mat. I'm like, I want to be on the mat in any way I can.
I don't know what else to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which usually comes with a little bit of tenure, right? Like, this is just too embedded. You also can be aware, or you should be aware. This is the most of the time, this is the moment for a lot of people, which I guess I would say, we talked about this before the show started, like, injuries can be very useful. Very useful for learning. Because like, it teaches you, you might get a little nervous, you might get scared. Like, there's like going to be some psychology to overcoming like injury. Like, when am I back to 100%? Have I fully healed from my thing? Like, when can I start taking risks on my life? You're going to have to like figure that out for yourself. There's no one, I don't believe there's one road to that, but it's an eventuality that, we want people back 100%. But when you self-assess and you're like, all right, me and Michael go, you're fucking banging it out. My knee got a little bit crept over too much, and like now my ligament is fucking sprained. But you can, most of the time, you start to pattern recognize scenarios that lend, and it's usually high velocity, high action, which is great. Like I said, that's the best part about it. Got to do that stuff. You don't want to be completely risk free, but you can, because of this, and knowing that that's not the only way to train. Somebody can say it's not even the best way to train. You need that. You need that stuff. You need that full clip. Go. But most of your best training sessions really won't. So
For sure.
And with that said, going back to, like I said, your statement was like, as long as I can do this, dude, let's say you got your tweak. Say it's on the tweak end of the spectrum. Tweak. You're like, all right, I tweaked my elbow, my left elbow. I have the rest of my, and I know my training partners. I know Mike really well. Mike's not going to like fucking try and hurt me if I tell him, please don't hurt my left arm. Well, we're going to, this is a cool thing about it. There's so many ways to train. Slow, back, drilling, skill development, perhaps flow rolling or regular rolling. I can't use my left arm. All the things. So sometimes it's going to be like, as long as I can do this, which has that's infinite. Which is really awesome. There's a point with this statement. To discern this themselves. So you can do something. You can do many things. It might be better sometimes to look on and say, as long as I don't do X.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really that. Which the good thing about
this is the thing that makes
I can't
it
do
hurt.
this. Yeah. Oh, it hurts when I go like up, down, left, right. All right. You can't do up, down, left,
Just
right.
don't do that.
You won't do that.
Yeah.
You're going to hide that arm. You're going to, and like you have to have the trust in your training. Bro, here's what I can do. Here's what I can't do. If you touch this, just, you can touch it, but like, just don't do anything with it. Catch and release, please. And like,
if you grab this thing, I will tap immediately.
I probably won't come back.
Yeah.
36 months.
I will never roll with you again.
But
I will delete your number from my phone.
The good news is that you get enough people in the room who've trained long enough. Like, that's easy. That's an easy conversation. They get it and like, done, registered. Cool. And then you do all the other stuff. Like, I will say some of my, I don't want to say favorite, but like most valuable ones. I can't do maybe A game stuff that I'm just doing all the time. Probably maybe I shouldn't be doing all the time. Anyways, because I'm exploring different stuff. I'm basically forced to do things that I'm not as good at because something's inoperative. Wrist, an elbow, a knee, whatever. But I can still play some jiu-jitsu rounds. So get in there and play the game a little bit. And like, I must do other things. And so then the point of all of this is that like, yeah, you can do other things. Know your body, you can and can't say those things. As long as I can do that, as long as I don't do that. You set those parameters, get that dialed in. And there's actually quite a bit. And this stuff generally is be done at like this moderate enough pace that you're like, this is another like find the line. When you're hurt, like find your line. It's your line now. Your line might be like 50% max. Okay? You like know that line that day because of how you feel. Which is something pretty much like, by the way, you get to a certain point. That's that day. I don't think I can go 100% sprint mode. Even when you're not injured. I'm just overtrained, I'm this and that, I've had a shit ton of cardio, my body is fried, but I can do low training.
Yeah.
And like that then means you can get on the mat.
Well, and like some of the greatest like skill jumps I feel like I've had is in those like periods of time where I was having like training through or training around might be the better way to put it, training around an injury. Because you're able, one, you probably got hurt because you're doing something you normally do, right? Like in a scenario or whatever that you normally go through, or you might have wrenched out because that's what you're probably doing, the stuff you always do. That's not why you got hurt, but that's probably the scenario you got hurt in. And now you're like, well, I can't do those things to that side. Or like, so like, for example, I blew up my elbow in March.
Don't say which one.
Well, it's fine now. It doesn't hurt now. Weirdly enough, the other one hurts. Don't know why.
Enemies will never know which one's
They'll
which.
never know. Everything hurts, guys. Doesn't matter. I'm just used to it. So, but like I just started training mostly to the other side. And luckily it like happened to be the side I don't normally do stuff to, I guess. I don't know. But like I was like, all right, well, like I can't do X, Y, and Z. So I'm only going to do these passes or these specific attacks and holds. Because it's that puts the other side, it doesn't put my bad side at risk, or I'm not exposing that side. So like they don't even have to worry about grabbing the wrong thing because the only thing that's exposed is the other side. So not only did I get better at moves that direction, but I also got better at defending the other side because then I'm not as worried about doing moves to that side.
There's I think, a really impressive, valuable skill to learning how to navigate issues. Like, in like a training environment, like try to like, this is like a credit to like some of the eco training, I suppose. Like these situations, the only stuff you can do right now is don't do it.
I know the other stuff is there, but don't do that stuff.
No. This goes back to what I'm talking about. Essentially, coach. I'm purposely to work on the skill. Well, we actually talked about this at length, RJ, which I was like, dude, like he has such a great skill because of his disability that he's just by default good at assessing situation limitations, saying, how am I going to solve this? Which like the ironic thing is everyone has to do this because your A game competition button hit. Your A game in competition will work against a ton of people. What are doing the competition is like, testing yourself. You're going to run into someone who's going to have a solution. You're going to have that solve. And people running the walls when like you're used to doing works stops working. So if you don't have the mental ability to pivot, adjust, things like I'm saying a thing working and not working. We're talking about like, a physical, injury stopping you from doing something that always works. I think this is easy. It's exercise. But you want like basically my stories are relevant to your story. It's just forced me to do stuff that I'm kind of shitty at. We talked about this in the last episode, the one before too. And I'm good at like these 5 things, and then it's okay. Like, man, sometimes you can't do your 5 things. And you're feeling kind of like trash and stuff. Which is probably good. Practice that stuff for a little while. You don't always be doing your best shit. Like, you do and you don't. But anyways, back to the RJ thing. Like, he's by default, his mind is set to like, I have a problem that I must figure out to solve. I can't use this is the right side, but I'm your side. He's always able to look at it match, but he wants to compete, he wants to win. So he has that problem solving mentality built into his frame. I feel like he's born with a disability, but they don't that is all. Until you're in a situation like this, where like, hey man, fuck, I leave my right leg when I go to knee cut, blah, blah, blah. My right leg's up. I don't want a knee cut. I can't knee cut for a month. And fingers crossed, I do everything right. Maybe in a month, I'll get my knee cut back. Still want to train, but train pretty hard. Like, what's the next thing? And then that allows you to practice your other shit. Been neglecting. And then, by the way, that might be the new discovery process you've actually because knee cut always works. It's always there.
I don't need any other passes. This is the only one I need.
You don't need any other passes until you need them.
Yeah.
That's the point. You don't know that you need these things to the things that you always. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, you're fucking. Maybe 2 things. All right, the rest of me can still do something. What are we going to do now? And those are some of the best trainings. And again, the right training partners, they'll cooperatively give you like still a difficult training session that allows you to push your body, challenge your mind, but also allow like the thing that's hurt to not get worse, to like improve.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not going to call out all my injuries right now because this will come out before, but I've been training through injuries. I haven't been training around them right now. Not the smartest. Don't do that if you don't have to. I've chosen this life.
What we're doing, right. Sometimes in the gym, I say this all the time. A lot of this shit is definitely do as I say, not as I.
Yeah.
So many of these things. These are individual choices.
Yeah.
The amount of like physical pain and or risk tolerance for injuring your body, it's up to you. Like, you don't have to do it.
I've committed to this.
You are going to do it.
My wife has already
supports you. She's a nurse.
She has signed up for the fact that I will be in a wheelchair way too soon.
She's going to take care of you.
The vows were said. She's locked in. She has no option but to stay with me at this point because, but
you're like RoboCop.
We made promises to each other.
Metal. You're like Darth Vader or something. Yeah.
In front of my great uncle and a bunch of other people, including Scott. He was there. He saw her promise.
She did.
So
no going back.
Yeah, she said, even when you're in a wheelchair and can no longer walk.
I think in sickness and health is what they say.
Yeah. But yeah, stop putting her on blast on that.
Credit to her.
Good for her.
Yeah, credit to her for signing up for that.
But we have made this decision that this is what we're going to do. We know that at some point we will be too injured to do this to whatever extent we're doing it at this moment. But this is the moment we're playing for. But we know that this is something that we're going to be doing. Like we know, I'm not worried about it. It's fine. Stuff's going to hurt. It's hurt forever. My whole life. Everything's injured all the time. But I've been training through injuries, right? And so we have to figure out how to redirect the entire game plan around whatever got hurt. In fact, I have an injury I've been playing through since July, working, all right, we've had to pivot this game plan for, don't worry about Alexa. But so like we've had to readjust game plans based on injuries that pop up. And like, that's part of it. But even if you aren't competing, you can still do that with training, right? But so like, all right, I can't go to whatever side. So we're going to take that move out. We're not doing that move anymore because we can't do it without it hurting. That's going to limit our ability for the output that we want. So we're going to take that out. All right, this submission is off limits. That submission I'm tapping too soon. Well, let's work around how are we not going to end up there, right? And that might mean you might have to, this one takes a very good training partner. That person's allowed to get there, but that person needs to have the restraint to not make it hurt, right? Like, armbar, for example, right? Let's go back to our example from the beginning. You know, your arm, if it gets extended, it might, you don't know because you're
going to make something worse.
It's going to make it worse.
You're going to make it worse.
We're all about recovery here.
Yeah. We want recovery.
So, all right, well, they can still get to that armbar because obviously them getting to that armbar is why it got hurt. But they're not allowed to extend the arm, right?
That's your release.
They can drop into the position and you will also not take advantage of it and be a dickhead and use the fact that they're not going to armbar you to escape, right? Because the goal is to not allow them to get to the armbar. So we start funneling our training to get us better at not ending up in those situations that got us hurt, if that is the case, right? Like if you got injured doing jiu-jitsu, sometimes it's a freak thing. It wasn't actually jiu-jitsu that got injured. It caused the injury, or like, submission didn't cause the injury. Sometimes stuff just pops. Or, all right, well, I can't knee cut to the left now. So I'm going to practice everything to the right, or I'm going to do a new pass, like you're saying. And so we start directing and funneling, and we start creating our own limitations and sometimes you're not limiting your partner because that will also make you better. If you can do this new game plan that you're limiting yourself on without your partner being limited around what they can do, better, right? So now we're just redirecting, we're learning new skills, we're getting better at new things. And honestly, that's from March to July made a huge difference. March, May, April, whatever. I think it was March. Whatever. Few months, but one competition to the next one. There was a recovery period in the middle. Doing that made me way better. I also think the fact that I didn't compete in there and was solely focused on getting better probably helped as well. But like I made a point of redirecting the game plan to avoid what caused the injury, right? Like, so it's like, all right, well, this is playing this specific passing game is what got me in the situation that led to the arm lock that popped my elbow. So we're going to do a different passing game. And I worked completely different passing game, got looser, did less. So like playing a little bit of a looser game, getting more into camp passes, all of that kind of stuff. So changed up how I was passing. And now I have two different game plans available to me because now that thing's not an issue, right? That injury isn't there anymore. So now it's like, all right, well, now I have an A/B. I have two options. If this isn't working, I can change and go to the other plan. Both of them lead to the same end goal. This is just one part of the game. And so ultimately get better at jiu-jitsu, right? So that's my most recent one. Well, that's the most recent one I'm willing to talk about at the moment. We'll go into deeper. We'll talk deeper after Worlds about all of the injuries. We'll do a recap on Mike's injuries at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, so like that made a huge difference in terms of just skill acquisition was the limitations, right? You start you start self-limiting, you find a way to still train, but you also don't push yourself. And like you're saying, pace makes a difference, right? Training partners makes a difference. But what if it's worse than that, right? Like what if it's something that you can't just make a new game plan for, right? Like it's something that, like I really can't roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like at all.
Yes.
Like you can still train, but like, full speed's not an option. What do you recommend for that?
Well, okay. So that's another, like, I can, as long as I can do this, that's another, goes back to the same, like, decision matrix or questions you have to answer. You have to dial it intensity back even. Like, so you might find yourself in a situation so determined you can only escape. Seriously. Or you can do, like, I mean, again, like, this is why there's so many ways to train. Like, if rolling in any capacity about a situation, or you can move a little bit, maybe like quote unquote resistance, limited resistance, like it can simulate some type of. If that isn't an option either, then it might just be like, sure, but like you can potentially do something. Okay, so if it's scenarios worse than that, you gotta ask yourself. I mean, at a certain point, like we all know the option of just hey, just pause and let it always on the table. Sometimes that's the best answer. But if there's something you can do at a minor capacity, when was the last time you just,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like for real.
Yeah.
By the way, I said just hit escape. I was escape this morning when I trained in a live scenario. So maybe I get one good hip escape for practice and I'm fully, you know?
Yeah.
Or bridge or whatever. You name the constituent movement. And there's definitely nothing bad about saying, like, yo, man, I'm pretty much inoperable with a partner. Let's just go to the most extremes. On my own, and I clear with my doctor. I can bridge and I can hip escape. I can trim on my own for a few minutes a day. Whatever is keeping me from training for the instruction. Dude, that's what's bad about that. I mean, it's not as satisfying, perhaps, when we've tasted the sweet treat of full, and sparring, cheese down, just the best. But no, man, it goes back to like, I mean, like just like if you're restless and you're like, I want to do something, man. I always want to keep my big picture goal of mat time, X number of days or hours or whatever. Just touch the mat. Dude, like the Gordon Ryan's guys talk about like get injured when they show up and they watch training.
Yeah.
Show up and watch training, man. Watch tutorial. Like when one of our guys got his leg injured, beginning of the year, he and I sat and chilled in this house and watched tutorials. He was literally legs up on a fucking bed. We watched leg locks. But like there's so many things you can do. And that's even like, just funny. Let's talk about it. There's stuff off the mat you can do too. Let's talk about that. I think people get what we're saying. Hey, you want to get in, you want to move,
Well, yeah, I was just before we moved to off the mat, I was going to say, like, if you're too injured to actually train and roll, I mean, like, if you can trust yourself to do it, still show up to class. Bring a notebook, dude. I've seen plenty of dudes, they hurt their back, but like, you still want to bring a notebook, right? Take notes, because you might not be doing that when you're not training, but at least it's some way to like create a physical connection with whatever you're learning, right? Or yeah, do your drills, come in, do warm-ups, and then just watch, right? Like that's fine. You can do it. A lot of guys, if it's a big injury, like after a certain period of time, that gets a little like, I really,
tough. Yeah, it's tough to like be in front of it.
I don't really want to just sit here and watch for 6 months, right?
It's like an alcoholic looking at liquor.
Yeah, you know, like I
get that too.
I understand, but you know, like we both had injuries like that where, you know, like I'm just gonna show up. Maybe I'll come in like once a week, right? I busted up my ribs. Can't really do anything. I can't do anything. I can't have a person on me. Can't really turn. Can't do any of the movements. Maybe I'll pop in. I'll go to whatever class is convenient a week, just to see something. Put my feet on a mat, right? Take my socks off and just stand on the mat for a minute. Even if it's, at least see the people, right? Like it might keep you at least connected. Because if you disconnect it becomes very easy to stay off the mats. Momentum, right?
Yeah.
So before we get to the off the mat stuff, I just wanted to
add
that little tidbit.
It makes a lot of sense. For sure. I mean, so much of this game is mental, like understanding. So being like present around the training room, like it's not the ideal thing for most people, but that definitely has that. You can observe. You can I mean, participating in it is great, but
it's so fun.
Yes, it is.
But then you take away it's hard to do the not fun part of just the learning, right? Which is still fun, but you know what I mean? Like
I know
the
exactly
less
what you
fun
mean.
part.
Yeah. You can watch it. You get a whole new frame how everything works. And you sit there and observe. You really can. So there's tons of ways to continue to like develop your understanding and your skills. You kind of have to be mental because of the limitations of it. If you can challenge yourself to do that, and it doesn't become mentally deleterious to sit there and watch videos and so that's hurt my soul. The value, that's the case. You can stomach that. Show up, watch the other guys. Maybe give some advice. Maybe coach a little. That's what Dan does.
Yeah,
he's now training. He comes in, he helps, he watches. He's doing all the right things, man. And it's also, by the way, it's a cool teammate. It's nice to see someone. I think it says a lot about the person, depending on how much they love supporting Bassiak. It's great. Which is why the Donaher guys, these guys are I would say healthy, obsessed with what they love what they do. They're very like they're team people. Yo, man, we're all in this like show of work. It's gonna be tough. Require different type of discipline. But like being there is just so valuable. It's being present. Show up, man. Can.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Do you watch tutorials?
I do. I don't usually have like a specific like directed thing. Sometimes I look at them like I'll be like, oh well, what pathway do we want to show today? Or or I get like super interested in a specific like sequence or position. They're like, hey, maybe we're not getting to that for a while, and then I'll seek it out, right? I'll go find it. Or if I was in a competition and something like I get hit with something, I might want to find out how that happened, right? Like, oh, well, like what did that person do? Go watch the video. I'm like, okay. So roughly this thing, let's go find out how that happens. I don't do a lot of them, right? But I don't watch a lot of them, but I do watch some.
Yeah.
Like I think there's definitely
they're useful, man.
Yeah, like you can. I try not to like do too much because you can very easily get into that like rabbit hole of like this is no longer. I'm just watching stuff, right? Like
no, I get what you're saying, and I actually am the same way, man. Or like I would say, like for me, my way of speaking what you're describing is I think it goes a long way. Example, when I was watching tutorials from Dan, like, I would see like watch I don't know, maybe an hour or so, or also minus a few minutes of seeing that stuff. Greg Jones and Gary Tonin. I remember like watching these things, and I'll do this like you said. Like, you see like some, and like a little bit goes a long way. Like I'll watch something, and I'll be like, all right, cool, I've got enough. This is good already. But a little bit goes a long way. Like they'll show a thing, and I'm like, because like some of these tutorials, like there's a lot about maybe too much. I'm just saying like
this is too valuable.
Well, it's just like, it packs a good punch. Where I'm like, all right, hold on, I'm gonna get these two things, and you know, I can extract a lot of learning and value taking two things. Because if I start taking too much, I'm in some things. I take the two things. I go on the mat and I just start doing it. And like that's me getting like I need a few minutes. One of these two actually sit. Practice it. And then I go and practice it. Practice it. I'm just saying enough I can have them do. They practice it, and then people kind of like on the subject of it's not what you need to be. And we can take like just a few minutes snippet of a dense tutorial and get something new out of it, which going to the whole tutorial might be too much for just maybe this method of learning. Perhaps is my my way of like maximizing for myself, I suppose. But we get that new thing, that new leg lock, that new entry, that new defense, or that. Let's just take this little snippet of data, make it make sense in our training. Go a long way. I would say that plus like the other thing I like off the mat. I love watching. I like watching matches. Are it doesn't have to be like watching some footage. Maybe the home footage to self-assess, maybe opponent's footage. Dude, I love. You know what I really like watching? Love watching wrestling.
Yeah,
bro, I love it. Literally, when I watch these guys, and like and for me, it's like, it's entertainment, but it's also like, cool. See how these top tier moves, how do they move, how do they operate? What's the pace look like? What are the setups? And just like, there's stuff I can look at and like, man, it's inspiring. It's cool to watch. Talking about masters of an art that, I'm definitely a white belt in or whatever, not a black belt in. And, how can I observe something? I'll just give an example. Wrestling. Like for me, relatively in the last like year or so, from watching like Olympic level wrestlers and it's head setups, feints, little things that either it doesn't give you a tutorial on moving your fucking head on, but like I'm looking at that and I'm like, these guys are very active. They're in. To me, I see this. I see misdirection. I see confusing the opponent. Like just feint setups, like the other person not knowing when the double legs go. I can do a double leg. Definitely not the best at it. I will prove it, but like I can do a double. And like maybe I can add in some of these feints and setups that I can just see really high eyes. Like, it's like, how do they do this? And then they just punch in for an underhook. There's so much stuff happening, more than I can even comprehend. But like I can see this one thing, and I see the one thing that I'm going to practice. I'm going to play around with to see if it has value. And it does.
Well, you also get to see a really cool thing with that. Any high level grappling competition, I actually really like watching footage more than tutorials, like you're talking about, because you get to see the adaptation. You get to see them like take other fundamental movements and apply them because they just know how, right? Like maybe don't know, but like they just move, right? Like they just move in a certain, they know the fundamentals are so ingrained. You can see them apply them without like it being a move, like an actual move. Cause like that's where, people talk about like the jiu-jitsu between the jiu-jitsu or whatever, right? Like sometimes you just have to like do a movement and not worry about, well, the move is this. Sometimes there's no move. The move isn't the answer. The answer is like just to move your hips away, right? Like I just need to get my hips over. My hips are over here. I need them over there. So sometimes when you're just like and honestly, like probably that might be one of the better things you can do if you're, laid up off the mat is just watch people do the sport, right? I mean, heck, we've talked about it before in competition episodes, but even if it's not competition related, but competition pivot button, like watching film is something that every other sport does. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to like learn what someone else does. If that's not your goal, whatever. But if you watch like to like learn study an opponent, but if you like just watch them, you don't have to be necessarily worried about emulating a game or anything like that or picking up moves. But if you just watch like, especially wrestling, dude, you see guys, they like go for a move and the move doesn't work, but they like figure out how to remove their body to like just turn it into something, like to make the goal they had in mind happen. Especially like freestyle wrestling happens all because there's just the rule set allows for more. But like you see them turn moves you see them like troubleshoot in real time, and you can see it just gives you that idea of how like fundamentals works, right? And then you can kind of watch and you can find things that are consistent between different high level competitors. And you find those consistencies, and then you can kind of like start kind of road mapping. And then as you get healthier, you can start to direct your training towards like, all right, well, like I noticed that everybody, is doing these hip movements seem to be pretty consistent. I should start working those hip movements like before you can, actually roll with someone. Like, all right, well, maybe I need to like work my twisting, my ability to like rotate my hips or pinch or whatever so that I can without having to worry about getting my hooks in, I can still control the back or I can still do whatever. Right. So like, I think there's a great value in watching that high level stuff because for the most part, they all do like, they have one or two things they're really good at. You can probably find, if you want to just learn a move, you can find that whichever guy does the thing you want to learn because they're doing that one thing. But also you can just kind of see like the importance of fundamentals. And so you can figure out, all right, if I just stripped everything away, I can only do 3 things. What can I do? Right. So you can kind of create that roadmap for your recovery since we're talking about injury. But yeah, I mean, it's so helpful to be able to study. I guess studying is a big deal.
You're here, buddy.
Yeah, we did it. Any closing comments, Ray? Just don't get injured, guys. We will do a full download on my injury stuff later. When it's no longer detrimental to my competitive edge. But yeah. So yeah, guys, that was Fire Drinking Coffee. Thanks for listening. Definitely like, follow, subscribe. We'll keep having tidbits for you guys to help keep you on the mats, hopefully, but also, help you improve, get a little bit better every day at jiu-jitsu. You can also follow for more updates. Follow us on Instagram at Fighters Drinking Coffee. You can also follow Scott
at Scott Dance BJ
and me at Get Sudsy. That way, you can keep up with us. Make sure that we're actually, doing the things we tell you that we do, which we do, but that way you can see it in real time. See that we're real people. But also, guys, biggest thing, 5 stars. Those 5-star reviews, they make a big difference. They help move us up the charts, get us in front of more people so that we can keep growing this community, keep getting us in the ear holes of other people like you that you think could benefit from this as well. And then, show notes, we got the Discord, got some discount codes for you guys. Big one is some gear from Cruise Combat. We have some cool stuff coming down the line from them. They're busy with the holiday season, so you might see it after that, but we will let you guys know once it's available for sure. So you guys can rep us on the mats, get some no-gi kits going. So that's in the works. We're working on designs, trying to get some stuff finalized, but once we have it, we will let you guys know. And thanks for listening. Bye.